Yes, guys, I'm back again. Just in the lineups, and I'll start with the host, Brentford. They've pretty much gone to a similar formation, similar lineup that they went to when they battered us towards the end of the season. They've got the only missing player is Raya. They've got a keeper called Flecken, who I've never heard of, but you know, I don't think that's the most important setup when it comes to Brentford. They've got left back in Henry, who I think is a very good left back, someone that I've been touting for to come to Spurs. Very reliable going forward, very reliable going backwards. He's very Ryan Bertrand-ish. Reliable, 7 out of 10 every game, and I'm surprised he hasn't had an England call up yet. But he's at left back. You've got Hickey right back, Collins, who they bought from Wolves for 25 million, Pinnock and Aja. Three centre midfielders. They've got in Norgard, who's, for me, was an up-and-coming Danish talent. I'm not sure what he's been up to for the last 6 months, to be fair, because he's been in and out of the team. But, I've seen him in the World Cup, very good player. Janot and Janssen, good battling midfielders. They overran our midfield last season when they beat us at their grounds. And then up front, they've got Mbuemo and Wissa, who gave us absolute mayhem that day, and especially Mbuemo. Very good player, very underrated. I won't go as far as saying he's going to be a player that goes to the top six, but he'd be a very good top six squad player. I'll definitely have him at Tottenham, but I don't really class us as a top six side at the moment. So, if Kulusevski wasn't cutting the mustard, I'd have Mbuemo coming in off the right or up front. So they've got a very good setup, and what you can rely on with Brentford is they hang into games. They, if my memory serves me right, I think they only lost 2 or 3 games at home last season. They beat Man City away. They beat us at home. They beat Man United 4-0, I think it was last season, even though it was in the beginning of Ten Hag's reign. So they're a very good setup. They're very good, very solid. People don't really talk too tough of them, but I think, again, with the right backing and maybe a replacement for Ivan Toney, they can still be a top 10 side. But for Brentford, another year in the Premier League is success for them. Got a very good manager. So, I look at this team, I don't think anybody in the Premier League is happy to have this as their first game of the season or any game of the season. It's just a tricky game. It's very much that they're turning into like the Crystal Palace of, I'd say, maybe 3 seasons ago. No matter what happened, you didn't want to go Palace away. It was just one of those games, the atmosphere's bouncing. They're not in a relegation scrap, but at the same time, they're trying to maintain their status. And with a couple of good players, very good sides. So, I'm not exactly going to sit there and say that we're going to beat them because we don't have a divine right to, just because we're a bigger club. They're a very good team. And then I'm going to move on to our lineup. Ange has ticked box 1 for me. Pick a team that needs to be picked rather than, face favour. In honesty, the team kind of picks itself. If I go to the goalkeeper, Vicario, knew full well that he was going to be picked. A new goalkeeper. I've had my doubts of him in the pre-season, but only time will tell. Keepers, especially when they're young, they peak at a later age. You had people like De Gea that people are talking about, how's this guy a Man United keeper, and he left a legend. So I'm not sitting there comparing him to De Gea, but these things happen with goalkeepers. Back 4 is what I wanted. People were calling for Pedro Porro at right back. Don't understand that because the geezer can't defend. If we're at home and the impetus is for us to attack while somebody sits into 2 banks of 4 like Forest did against Arsenal, let's say, then you put Porro in because it gives us another attacking option going forward. But if I'm honest, against Brentford, you just want a back 4 that's just going to do their job, and if mistakes happen, that's football. So the back 4 is Emerson Royal right back. He isn't the greatest going forward, but I don't want him going forward. You sit in and defend, mate, because for me, towards the end of the season, he was a 6 or 7 out of 10 for his defensive capabilities. And if Ange can improve him on that, even better. We've got Romero, Van de Ven and Adoji. I'm thankful, like I said in my video, that Van de Ven has been put straight in because there's no point of him not playing. Give him this Brentford game, I want him to feel what it's going to be like in the Premier League. I don't want this take it easy. You got Mbuemo to deal with. This isn't German league. You know, Wissa, this guy moves about. He's powerful. I want you to understand that in the Premier League, because you're going to have a lot of games like this. Adoji going forward was great. Hopefully he can do the same going backwards. Then we've got Skip, Basuma, which is what I wanted. A lot of people asking for Sarr. But I think Ollie Skip on the ball's a bit more pleasurable. And then front four is Maddison, Kulusevski, Son and Richarlison. You know, it's a bit weird looking at the lineup without Harry Kane in it, but I'm a bit excited because I want Son, Kulusevski, you know, the front four. I want you guys to gather together and say, look, not only is there two captains and vice captains in that lineup, you've got to start taking responsibility, because Harry Kane is not going to be there forever. Even if he signed a new 5-year deal in 5 years time, Harry Kane ain't at Tottenham. So I'm glad that we've done it now rather than spending the whole year with Harry Kane banging goals and then we've got to spend another year thinking, is he going to sign a new deal if we get top four? Don't want none of that. You know, I haven't put any expectations on the team right now. I'm not going to sit there and say we're going to push for top four. I'm not going to say we're going to push for top 6, top 8, FA Cup. I just want Ange to give me something to push forward on as the games and weeks go on. So if it gets to the point where we finish 8th, but there's a good nucleus, there's a way of playing football, and we see where we need to make additions, brilliant. If it gets to the point where we finish 6th, and the football is free flowing and everybody's like, Tottenham are going to be a threat next season, brilliant. If we get to a semi-final, you know, we're not going to win a cup. This is what Tottenham don't do. But if we did win one, then it's cool. So my expectations are clearly open, and I feel that if Harry Kane was still with us, I'd expect a bit more. So I'm hoping Son steps up with the new badge and the new responsibility. I'm hoping Richarlison just doesn't sit there feeling sorry for himself, because he can't afford to. Now, I think, like I said in the previous clip, I feel that he feels sorry for himself because he's thinking, no matter what I do in the pre-season friendlies, Harry Kane's playing up front. Now that Harry Kane's gone, you're the main man. And I feel that against Brentford and against Man United, if you're not cutting the mustard, Tottenham are going to start having a look about, should we get another striker in, or do we put Dane Scarlett in, or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. I think it'll be end-to-end. It'll start off cagey, but I think there'll be an early goal. Probably Brentford. You know, that's how Tottenham roll. But I just want to see what happens. You know, I want to see if Ange can get that free-flowing football that we had in the pre-season and adapt it into the Premier League, because pre-season is nothing compared to going to Brentford away. I don't care what nobody says. So, you know, before I go to the pub to watch the game, I'm going to say my prediction. And if you watch my videos before, I normally go with my head and my heart. So my heart is telling me that there'll be goals, a lot of goals. And I feel that we'll play good football and it'll be a 2-2. I think Brentford on set pieces and their directness might catch us off a little bit. It just depends on how characters like Van der Ven make us look, because even though he's 6'4", he's not the best aerially. So Brentford, if they've done their homework, they'll see that. But my heart tells me 2-2, and my head kind of tells me the same thing. It's weird because it's being a Spurs fan. It's like in my head, I'm like, you know what, we could win 3-2, but then I could literally walk in the pub, pick up my first drink, and we're already 2-0 down. So yeah, I'm going to go over 2-2. And it'll be a 2-2, and I'm hoping it'll be an aspiring 2-2 that we can, as Spurs fans and as a squad, look forward to the next game, which is always difficult, which is at home to United. So yeah, come on you Spurs, and I'll see you at half time. Yes, people. It's half time at the GTEC Stadium. Tottenham 2, Brentford 2. I said there was going to be a lot of goals and entertainment, and I was backed fully on that half. Like, I was watching the game, I was thinking to myself, am I going to be able to squeeze that all in a 5-minute analysis? Mad. If I'm going to start with the positives, which are always the best things to do, one thing I've been impressed with is our capability to keep possession. That's something that we haven't been doing for 4 years, dominating possession, trying to pick pockets and stuff like that. I know it's only the first game, but the football that I was seeing there, I haven't seen for a long time. It wasn't exactly amazing, but it was positive football. You know, another positive is Basuma, the guy's running that midfield. I feel that Ollie Skip's letting him down a little bit. You know, I love Skippy, but I think a Højbjerg or a Sarr is probably needed in this game, because Brentford in certain transitional periods are dominating us physically. When they're getting in, it's pretty easy for them, and if they took some of their chances properly, especially in Bremer at the end of the first half, could have been 3-2. But at least we're not 2-2, and I'm thinking we've took 2 chances out of 2. We've had quite a few chances. Maddison has impressed me. As soon as he won that free kick, I knew he's either going to have a shot or set up a goal. I said it to the guy in the pub. It was going to happen. In terms of the negatives, one negative was that Romero came off after scoring from a header, which is mad. Another negative is that there was 11 minutes added on, but to be fair, that helped us out because we ended up getting the equaliser from that. Literally, I had my script wrapped up for Emerson Royal, because I feel that a lot of the time Brentford are getting in down on their left-hand side, and Emerson Royal is playing in centre midfield with Basuma sometimes, and then because he's not staying in position, he's switching off in concentration when he's going back into right back, and that's what cost us for Brentford's second goal, because there was a lack of concentration. He got beat for speed because he didn't anticipate the pass, which to me was an easy pass, and that's what's resulted in the goal, along with Davinson Sanchez not switching on to the fact that when the ball's coming into the box, you've got to mark a man rather than mark the space. Davinson Sanchez hasn't done too bad. I'm seeing a lot of Tottenham fans going mad about him, saying it was his fault. It was his fault in a way, because he should have been marking his man. But at the same time, Emerson Royal shouldn't be letting that cross come in. But, we learned to move from that. Van de Ven, you can tell he's probably gone into that first half thinking, wow, the Premiership does bits. And rightly so, this is what I wanted. Whether he comes out of this unscathed or comes out of it battered, at least when you're in training for a week, you understand that the Premiership's a mental league. For me, it's not. I won't go as far as saying it's the best. If it's the best competitively. Another negative is the referee and VAR. Son's asking for sticking a leg up, but are you being serious? The guy that's gone down is about the same size as me, mate. I would have carried on, twisted and turned him and tried to shoot, but the geezers fell down. That's the football that we play these days. One touch on the leg. For me, these professionals practice it in training, because there's no other way, because I've never done that playing football. I've done it as a joke, playing 7-a-side and that, but I just look ridiculous. Why? Because I don't practice it. My main aim is to either score predominantly, and if you fall over because you've been tackled. But gone is that football. The referee's just dishing out yellow cards for fun. Silly, again, Maddison picked up a silly yellow, but that's the football and the way that the game's being played and monitored at the minute. But apart from that, another negative I'd like to go upon is that we've got 2 wingers that haven't got electric pace, and they're so predictable. Son, I think there's only one time he tried to get in behind, and it resulted in no one finding him, but it's because I believe that the team is so used to him not going in behind that they're not going to look for that. Kulusevski's another one that needs to adapt to his game, because he's not trying to go in behind, and then again, the one time he does try and get in behind, something happens. We need to be doing that as wingers. We've got wingers that are capable of going in behind. They're not the quickest in the league, but they're certainly not the slowest. And speaking on going in behind, what is the point of Richarlison playing? I don't understand what he's doing, because he's not pressing, he's not making runs, he's not making any conscious effort to get in the box when balls are being delivered. And then when balls are being delivered, he's just been easily marshalled. The way he's played in that first half, I genuinely believe if Brentford put me in at centre half and said, watch Richarlison, I probably could have done it, because he wasn't doing anything that would make it difficult. If I got chucked into that game today, I'd have confidence that I could be a Premier League centre half, just for the sheer fact that Richarlison made it so easy for me. When you're looking at Harry Kane that's just left us, you can't compare Harry Kane to him. But Harry Kane will move off, he'll win headers, he'll win fouls, he'll drop off, he'll get in the box, he'll do that. All I'm asking for Richarlison is a bit of energy. Show that you care a bit. But all he's giving me is a frown and a face. He looks like a petulant child that hasn't been given their pocket money. And if we're going to go into a campaign with this as our main striker, along with Ange not putting Dane Scarlett or Velez on the bench, we're in trouble. So, if Richarlison doesn't pick it up in his second half and doesn't pick it up against Man United, I believe we've got to go into the market anyway. But then if Richarlison finds himself as second fiddle striker, you're asking for it, because you're not showing us anything. You're not giving the Tottenham fans anything to do. Like, as far as I'm concerned, we're drawing 2-2 and we're down to 10 men because Richarlison ain't offering anything. You can't, all I've seen him do is little one passes. What's that, man? You're worth 60 million and you're Brazil's number 9. Like, baffles me. But we're going to the second half. There's going to be a load of goals. Like I predicted, 2-2. Unless it stays that way, I can't imagine it, because we've got Davinson Sanchez on a yellow card, which will play on his mind. We've got options on the bench. I'd like to see Solomon come on, because that's somebody with some direct pace. So if Son and Kulusevski, one of them ain't cutting the mustard, bring Solomon on. Give Brentford something to think about when they're 15 minutes into their energy bar. Centre midfield, again, I think it needs boosting up. Basuma's taking the piss. He's man of the match with me so far. But we need someone next to him that can give him a bit of reassurance. So whether it be Sarr or Højbjerg, I'd go with Sarr. And just keep the momentum going. If Richarlison's not cutting the mustard, take him off and put Son up front and bring Solomon on, because I can't be having a petulant child up front that's just not going to do anything. If he scores, brilliant, but he's still got to add more to his game. So it's one of those ones. But we'll see you at full time. Yes, people. It's full time. Surprisingly, the score stayed the same, 2-2. I went with my heart in my head, and that's what happened, 2-2. It's a good game. If you're a neutral, I'm guessing you enjoyed that. Most neutrals probably wanted us to lose. That's common ground when it comes to being a Spurs fan. But Brentford's a difficult place to go to, and it would have been more difficult if we played them sort of halfway through the season. I'm glad we've got that game out of the way, because if the game meant more in terms of us having to progress up the league or something, and you've got to play Brentford in, say, April, May, you don't want them games. I'm glad we got that out of the way. There was probably more positives than there were negatives. Davinson Sanchez, you're thinking when he's booked first half, he's going to do something stupid. But again, like I said, when he played against Barcelona, he's if you ask me, he's deserving of his place above Eric Dyer. Sorry, you know what I mean? Like, at least he tries to tackle, at least he tries to engage, and it takes a lot of balls for him to do what he's doing, because the way he got booed earlier last season. The amount of stick that he gets quite a lot, myself included. I'm not going to sit there and say that I haven't given him stick. I've given him a lot over the last couple of years especially, but for him to come in when he probably wasn't expecting to, get booked relatively early and stay assured was good. But I've always said that, as bad as you're defensive, if you play a possession-based type football, you haven't got to worry too much about your defence, because half the time you've got the ball. And second half we absolutely dominated Brentford. The only thing we didn't do was score. We had people like Kulusevski, Maddison, Perisic coming on, and with an assured striker, I'm not even going to talk about Harry Kane. I'm talking about just somebody that's a fox in the box, a bit busy. Does a bit more than just stand there and wait for a service. I reckon we win that game quite comfortably. Looking at the second half, but Richarlison just doesn't fill me with any confidence. When Maddison laid it off for that chance, even Maddison's like, "What are you doing, mate?" You know what I mean? He's saying the same thing as me in the pub. It's a problem, because if I was gonna have any faith in Richarlison taking us forward, he needed to show me something in this game. Didn't necessarily have to score; he just had to show me something. Had 2 chances, fluffed them, and there were 2 very good chances. But he just didn't do anything apart from those chances. And the Richarlison I know was always busy at Everton. He was always in the ref's ear, winding the opponent up. I didn't see none of that. So I don't know whether his confidence deflated. I don't know whether he's carrying an injury. I don't know whether this is just what it is. And I remember from the off saying that £60 million for somebody that's hasn't scored more than 12 goals in a season. Granted, Everton were struggling side, but come on, 60 million. At that time, chuck an extra 20 million on top, you would have got Lautaro Martinez. But we spent it on Richarlison. You were pretty clear that was a Daniel Levy signing. But again, I'm not going to moan. It'd have been very easy for me to come into this game and think that, we're going to go Brentford, they're going to turn us over. But, Brentford have probably come out of that game thinking, if Harry Kane was playing today, we would have lost. Simple as that. If we played the same way with the chances, Harry Kane would have gobbled up a hat-trick today, because Brentford weren't the Brentford that I expected. One thing they did do was hang in there. And they're a tough team, so mentally they're up there. But I don't know whether it was Brentford being off or the fact that we kept the possession so well in the second half that they just didn't know what to do. I think I'd go with the latter. Van de Ven grew into the game, quite quickly. Got himself reassured. But the plaudits for me are going to go to Yves Bissouma. Like, he's my general. I was so stressed at the fact that Højbjerg and all these guys were being played in front of this guy. Now I know he had injuries and stuff, but this guy is ridiculous when given the chance. And I believe with an astute centre midfielder next to him, if we had Bentancur in that game today, again, that's another player with Yves Bissouma who would have destroyed their midfield. But Ollie Skipp tried his hardest, wasn't his best game today. Papa Sarr come in but didn't have enough time to influence it. But these are two youngsters that I'm happy for them to learn, as long as we've got a Bentancur. But yeah, if I was going to give Ange a rating, or the squad and the staff in general a rating, a 7 out of 10 today. You did what you had to do. You didn't buckle when you were 2-1 down to Brentford, which a lot of teams have done in the past. And we didn't get the result that we wanted, because I felt that we deserved to win the game in the grand scheme of things. We won. The penalty was a ridiculous decision, and the goal that Brentford scored was very unlucky, because Van de Ven tried to make a clearance and it's ended up going in the back of the net when the keeper pretty much had it wrapped up. So there's positives. The keeper's a bit suspect with his feet, but again, he's a young lad, and if there's Tottenham fans out there cussing out the goalkeeper and the way he was with his feet and his decision making, just remember what we had with Lloris for the last 2 years, because Lloris at his feet was like having my mum taking goal kicks, being real, because every time he got the ball it was nothing but a bag of nerves for me. So he'll learn. I don't think he's when he's been playing in Italy, I don't think he's had the press like that, and he'll learn from it. He'll go into a game next week against Man United where the press will be there. They'll test him even more. They've got better players, but it's all part of a process, isn't it? Because we've got a lot of new players. Another player that I want to highlight is Udogie. He looked like he's been playing here for the last 3 years. Very, very good going forward. And defensively, surprised me today, because I thought that's where we'd have an issue, but he done very well going backwards. When it comes to me doing a video midweek, I'll shout out the ratings and everything like that. But I'm just, the only thing that I can moan about really is the fact that we didn't get the result, and I feel that we didn't get the result is because we didn't have a focal point that gave us a bit more than just standing there. But we move on to United next week. I'm going to enjoy the weather while I can, and we move. I'm going to be doing a video in the midweek analysing in a bit more depth the game, as well as looking forward to United and any other bits that have happened in Tottenham, because you all know that we can wake up in the morning and Tottenham are doing a madness. The only thing I hope for is that come tomorrow morning, when I'm on my way to work or when I'm on my way home from work, I see some activity in the striking department, because if we've got Richarlison up front and Dane Scarlett or Feliz haven't been put on the bench, that screams to me that Son and Richarlison are going to be playing more minutes than I think they deserve to be. I think they need somebody in to give them a bit of competition. I want to see Gift Orban in. I've seen a lot about him. I've seen enough to see that his movement is of a quality striker. He's young, and he seems to be one of those strikers that in a few years is going to be worth a lot more than he is now. So let's go and grab him while someone else does. But all I feel we need to focus on is someone banging the goals. Once we've got one or two players banging the goals, I've got no problem with Ange Ball. So I hope you'll have a blessed afternoon. Remember to like, share, subscribe, notifications, hit the bell, and like I said, give it a few months or so, I'm going to have a lot of content coming in, which won't just be with me, it'll be with a few people within the Spurs and the footballing community. So yeah, have a blessed day, love, and See you soon. Jacob and the one up top.